New at 6, the latest on survivors hospitalized after today's deadly accident in Vancouver. Plus,
preparing for fire season means preparing the firefighters. I'm Vince Patton. That story coming up, New at 6.
Well, there is apparently consensus on this, although I'm not so sure. He's ugly. It's Rascal the dog we're talking about, and he is the winner. 2002 World's Ugliest Dog. You see, Rascal has a long lineage of ugliness, though. In fact, his grandfather, Chi-Chi, is in the Guinness Book of World Records for winning the most World Ugly titles at 7. Rascal's a rare breed called Chinese Crested, which is more commonly known as the African Sand Dog. They are hairless, except for a mohawk-type hair on their head and then some hair at the end of their tail and feet. I think he's cute.
I do, and with a little Joe, he could really do something with that hair.
I know about that. The dippity-doo, huh?
Nightly News is straight ahead. America reacts to the news that the Pledge of Allegiance is unconstitutional.
Plus, finding a doctor the wrong choice could be deadly.
That's all coming up next on Nightly News, and we will see you back at 6.
Under God, a federal appeals court rules those two words make the Pledge of Allegiance unconstitutional. Will this hold up before the U.S. Supreme Court? Wrong numbers. Another body blow to American business. WorldCom, the long-distance giant, admits it faked billions in profits. What is the government doing to protect investors from dishonest companies? Firefight. The brave women of Apache 8 on the front lines of America's worst fires, now fighting the flames on their own home turf. And Lifeline, one family's heartbreaking story about the doctor they trusted, the little girl they lost. Do you know all the facts about your doctor?
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Suddenly, the world seems to have been turned upside down again. A company that was celebrated all during the 90s as one of America's greatest economic success stories now may be the largest fraud case ever. And that staple of American classrooms, Boy and Girl Scout meetings, the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, has been declared unconstitutional by a federal appeals court in San Francisco. We'll begin there tonight with two reports on the decision and the reaction, starting with NBC's Pete Williams.
One nation, under God.
America's public school children have been reciting the pledge with the phrase "under God" since 1954, when Congress added it. But Michael Newdow, an atheist whose daughter attended school in Sacramento, challenged that phrase in court. He said his child shouldn't have to listen as a teacher employed by the state leads the class in a ritual proclaiming God's existence.
Government is not allowed to infuse our society with religion, any religious belief. Belief in God is a religious belief.
A lower court threw the case out, but today, by a 2-to-1 vote, a federal appeals court in California declared that phrase unconstitutional. When teachers lead the pledge, the court said, it conveys a message of state endorsement of religious belief, namely that there's one God. And the judges said it tells non-believers that they are outsiders. A group that advocates separating church and state says today's decision is long overdue.
When you interject the controversy about religion into it, you turn a proclamation of patriotism into a religious creed, and that's something Congress shouldn't do.
But the dissenting judge today ridiculed the decision. The phrase "under God" doesn't promote religion, he said, except in what he called the fevered eye of people who would like to drive all trace of religion out of public life. The only other appeals court to consider this question found the phrase "under God" constitutional 10 years ago. And federal courts generally support government references to God on money and in taking oaths of office.
So help me God.
Even the U.S. Supreme Court begins its daily sessions with such a reference.
God save the United States and this honorable court.
What the Supreme Court has told us is that this phrase, God, when you talk about money and when you talk about oaths, isn't really signifying something religious. It's been part of our national culture for decades and sometimes more than a century.
For now, this ruling applies only to 9 western states where school is mostly out. And legal experts say if it's appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, it would likely be dead on arrival. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
The United States of America and to the I pledge allegiance.
This is George Lewis in California. The thought that this
One nation under God,
was ruled unconstitutional drew an immediate and angry reaction from across the country, starting with the parents of these kids in San Jose.
Excuse me, how dare you? That's what we were taught since day one.
I think it's absurd.
I think it's totally ridiculous. I don't see anything wrong with it.
This woman, walking her great-granddaughter home from school, had a word for those who oppose the pledge.
I'm furious. I think it's outrageous. I think that's part of our heritage, and if they don't like it, they should get out.
This from Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle, a Democrat.
But this decision is nuts.
And Republican Tom DeLay, the House Majority Whip.
Well, I've always had a problem with the judiciary, and this just confirms a judiciary run amok.
Presidential spokesman Ari Fleischer.
The president's reaction was that this ruling is ridiculous.
640 WGST.
And on talk radio stations from coast to coast.
We can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance. You might as well take my life.
This is, after all, a nation where most people believe in God. But not everyone opposes the court's decision. A few people say they're uncomfortable with a pledge that includes those words, under God.
Patriotism is a personal choice. You can't really enforce those kinds of things on people,
But that's a minority view.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Tonight, on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, members of Congress recited the pledge, certain that most people want to preserve it. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Now to the stunning news about WorldCom, this country's second-largest long-distance telephone company, sliding toward bankruptcy a day after disclosing that could be the worst case of accounting fraud in this country's history. Late tonight, the SEC filed a fraud action against the company in federal court. This at the end of a wild day on Wall Street. The Dow plummeted 200 points at the open, dipping below the 9,000 level for the first time since October. But as the day went on, an upward drift, and in the last hour of trading, computer-generated buying sent the index back up. As a result, the Dow finished down just under 7 points. NASDAQ managed a gain of a little more than 5 points on the day. Despite the fact that there was no bloodbath on Wall Street today, analysts are concerned that WorldCom's troubles will only add to the perception that corporate America is not being straight with investors, and it could drag the markets and the economy down even further. We begin our coverage tonight with NBC's Ann Thompson.
WorldCom, America's second-largest long-distance provider, today in a death spiral, says one analyst, admitting it made a $3.8 billion accounting error, igniting anger outside its headquarters in Clinton, Mississippi. Investor Sam Owens lost $60,000.
I bought my shares based on the company's performance and what their assets were, and it looks like all that was just smoke and mirrors.
Even the President of the United States outraged at this latest corporate scandal.
We will fully investigate and hold people accountable for misleading not only shareholders but employees as well.
Already the subject of a Securities and Exchange Commission investigation, today the Department of Justice says it too is reviewing WorldCom's operations. At issue, WorldCom's balance sheet. Accountants say WorldCom violated basic accounting, taking expenses and treating them as assets, artificially boosting income and profits.
Unlike the Enron and Global Crossing cases where there were transactions with difficult accounting issues, this accounting is so basic we teach it in the first week of accounting class.
WorldCom's accountant, the same as Enron's, Arthur Anderson. In a statement, Anderson says important information was withheld by WorldCom Chief Financial Officer Scott Sullivan. Sullivan has been fired. The error is so great, instead of making money in 2001 and the first quarter of this year, WorldCom now says it lost money. Battered by the downturn in the telecom industry and $30 billion in debt, analysts say bankruptcy may soon be WorldCom's only option.
They're going to have issues with the banks in terms of trying to refinance the debt. They're going to have issues in terms of their customers, in terms of trying to keep them on board. And we don't think they'll be able to do both.
To survive, WorldCom will slash 17,000 jobs and sell businesses. Dismantling the company former CEO Bernie Evers built from a small Mississippi firm. Forced to resign as CEO last month over questions about $408 million in loans, Evers remains revered in Clinton for his generosity.
he's still a friend of the community, and I think that those two will be separated, the community and what occurred in the business.
But tonight, Eber's former company is the latest example of corporate deceit, shaking America's confidence. Ann Thompson, NBC News, New York.
Corporate scandals have made household names out of several former CEOs, but beyond Enron's Ken Lay and Jeffrey Skilling, Gary Winnick of Global Crossing, and ImClone's Sam Waxel, there are others also under a cloud, including the former CEO of Tyco, Dennis Kozlowski, who's been indicted on sales tax evasion and destroying evidence charges. John Riggis, the former CEO of the cable company Adelphia Communications, forced out of his job under a federal investigation of his personal alleged use of billions of dollars in company assets for personal gain. The company filed for bankruptcy last night. Martin Grass, the former CEO of the drugstore chain Rite Aid, indicted on charges of inflating earnings and destroying evidence. All of this has taken a toll on the market since the collapse of Enron at the end of last year. In fact, since December, the Dow has lost 7% of its value. The S&P 500 has lost 14%. NASDAQ is off 25% of its value. And investors have pulled $17 billion out of mutual funds in the past 6 weeks alone. NBC's Lisa Myers has more tonight on the crisis of confidence among investors.
Richard Molinari, a sophisticated investor who retired last year, says it's depressing to watch the financial news each day and find it resembles a crime blotter, shenanigans by company after company.
It's crooked. If I rob a bank, I go to jail. They're robbing us. They should go to jail.
He's lost about $250,000 on paper and shifted almost a third of his portfolio out of stocks. He's furious, not just with the CEOs, but with the government.
Until they really come down on some of these companies, then I think things will go on as they are. That's upsetting.
Little wonder, after all the headlines, investor confidence now at its second lowest level ever. Only 38% optimistic about the market in the next year. Who do investors blame? Some blame stock analysts. One-star analyst Jack Grubman rated WorldCom a buy until 2 months ago, then downgraded it to neutral. He finally gave the company a negative rating only 5 days ago. Today, Grubman was in no mood to tell CNBC's Mike Huckman why he was so bullish so long.
Look, I have no comments. I mean, I'm as shocked about this as everyone else.
So this caught you completely by surprise, you say?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Today, also blamed for the Securities and Exchange Commission. Democrats charge regulators haven't been aggressive enough, called reforms proposed by Chairman Harvey Pitt in the wake of the Enron collapse toothless.
He is not doing the job, in my opinion. I think he ought to be doing a lot more.
Pitt fires back that after 10 months on the job, he's effectively managing problems he inherited. The SEC also points out that members of Congress helped kill tough accounting reforms proposed 2 years ago, and Congress hasn't given the SEC a significant budget increase in a decade. Tonight, the SEC is investigating hundreds of companies for accounting irregularities or records. It opened 64 new cases this year alone, which suggests more bad headlines to come. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
Up next, NBC News in Depth tonight, the secret meeting that convinced President Bush that Yasser Arafat has to go. Also ahead, a family loses its baby and then learns things about their doctor they wish they had never known. Do you know your doctor's track record? That's Lifeline, coming up a bit later.
Hey, I guess somebody's had a busy day today. Well, make sure back pain doesn't cramp your schedule tomorrow. Grab a new Thermacare air-activated heat wrap before you hit the sack. It gets warm and stays warm, deeply relaxing tight muscles. So circulation flows in, helping pain flow out. So, by the next day, you're moving and grooving. Oh yeah, all day long. Introducing Thermacare heat wraps. Find them in the pain reliever aisle.
Imagine if nature stopped working. Well, that's what it's like when Raymond's constipated. Phillips works with his body more naturally, gentle and stimulant-free, like nature intended. Phillips relieves constipation, so he's his natural self. Phillips, the comfortable way.
Alert. You have reached the end of the internet. You have seen everything there is to see. Please go back. Now.
Experience the joy of DirecTV DSL. Call now and pay only $29.99 per month for your first 3 months. Call 1-800-BEST-DSL now.
I thought you were surfing the internet.
Yeah, I finished it.
Using the wrong waterproofer can cost you thousands. Don't be taken for a ride. Demand Thompson's Water Seal. It has the highest level of water protection. Guaranteed. Powerful original. New advanced Thompson's Water Seal.
You know, some people get heartburn so often they need a prescription every single day. What about the rest of us? For occasional heartburn, try Pepcid first. You take it only when you need it. Take Pepcid AC when you know heartburn's coming, and stop it before it starts. Or Pepcid Complete after heartburn's already hit. It stops heartburn fast and lasts all day. No prescription required. Pepcid. Just one, and heartburn's done.
NBC News in depth tonight, the U.S. versus a defiant Yasser Arafat. NBC News has learned details of a secret meeting that apparently convinced President Bush to say that Arafat has to go without quite naming him. But Arafat today made it quite clear he is not taking orders from the White House. NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent, Andrea Mitchell, now in depth.
Israeli tanks today bombarding PLO security headquarters in Hebron. NBC News has learned the president decided Yasser Arafat had to be replaced after a secret White House briefing last week from Israeli intelligence. Israel told the White House Arafat had recently approved a $20,000 payment to a terror group, the Al-Aqsa Brigade, the same group claiming responsibility for last Wednesday's suicide bombing that killed 7 people in Jerusalem. An Arafat aide denies the charge.
I can say that Yasser Arafat did not and does not support suicide bombing.
The U.S. has not independently confirmed Israel's intelligence, but it was enough to persuade the president Arafat had to go.
I also made it plenty clear that if there's leadership compromised by terror, we won't be able on the path to peace.
Today, senior Bush officials deliberately took an even harder line. They signaled that Colin Powell will no longer even meet or talk to the Palestinian leader. And one top official said there would be consequences if Arafat is reelected. But a top Palestinian official says tonight Arafat will run.
My information is that he will run for elections again.
Will isolating Arafat work? It could backfire against America.
Destroy checkpoint! Destroy checkpoint!
And even prop up Arafat.
I think the danger here is that it looks like it's being imposed by the United States rather than coming from the ground up among Palestinians who themselves want to change.
Having called for free elections, the administration cannot answer what it will do if Arafat ends up winning. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News at the State Department.
We have some additional chilling news to report tonight in the war on terror. The Washington Post is reporting that the Bush White House is very worried that terrorists are preparing to launch a catastrophic cyber attack against computers. Specifically, the FBI and other agencies have evidence that al-Qaeda operatives have been trying to gain access to key computers that control dams, electrical systems, telephones, basically all the systems that run America's water and power supplies and communication systems. The complete story is breaking tonight on WashingtonPost.com. It will be in tomorrow's edition of the Washington Post newspaper. Next, the women who have done time on the front lines of fire. Now the hot zone hits home, and Apache 8 is ready.
There's something different about Michael.
He's like this health nut. I mean, he runs and he bikes, and he's kind of freaking me out.
He thinks he's like young again. He actually wants to do stuff with us.
What's gotten into him?
He's exercising and drinking Ensure. One glass gives you complete balanced nutrition when you can't have foods like these.
I don't know what it is, but I like it.
Ensure, to your health. Now with lutein to help support the health of your eyes.
Of your eyes.
With cool and colorful summertime flavors, nothing says summer like a Kraft salad. Kraft dressing, bite into summer.
Life-saving news from Bayer. American Heart Association research says people in these groups have suffered more heart attacks and strokes. To help prevent another heart attack, ask your doctor about aspirin. And remember Bayer. Studies prove aspirin can reduce your risk of another heart attack by up to 50%. There's original Bayer aspirin, or low-strength 81 milligram. Aspirin is not appropriate for everyone, so be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen. Trust your heart to Bayer.
Duke, for generations, we Bushes have kept the family recipe for our baked beans a secret. Roll that beautiful bean footage. We slow cook our beans with a special blend of herbs and spices, according to our secret family recipe. And here it is. 3 generations of Bushes are counting on us to keep it a secret.
You can trust me, Jay.
I know, boy, but I'm not taking any chances.
Oh, that hurts.
Try Bush's country-style baked beans.
Right on target. Now, Grecian 5 hair color targets only your gray hair to leave subtle tones like your own natural color, all in 5 easy minutes. Grecian 5 targets only the gray.
Important. Take exactly as directed, but first call around and compare drug prices. Avoid paying too much for your prescriptions. Generics may work as well as brand names. Tell your physician and pharmacist everything you're taking. Some medicines don't interact well. Remember, no matter what an ad says about a drug, it may not be right for you. AARP reminds you to check up on your prescriptions.
Some encouraging reports tonight from the western wildfire zone. Firefighters say they are gaining ground on the giant Show O fire in Arizona, thanks in part to a remarkable team of firefighters. NBC's Chip Reed joins us live now from Show O. Chip.
Well, Tom, this fire is now 5% contained, and officials say it's going to go up significantly today, much more than 5%. And for the first time, they are sounding optimistic that the fire might not make it here to the town of Show O. Now, that is due in large part to the weather, which is cooperating, but it's also because of the hard, dirty work of the fire crews on the ground, including the women of Apache Fire Crew number 8. 11 p.m. at the Fort Apache Dispatch Center in Arizona. Dean Caldera makes the calls to the all-women Apache 8 fire crew, the veterans.
We're dinosaurs. We've been at this for a long time. I've been here since 1978, fighting fires with Apache 8.
A phone call in the middle of the night is routine for 51-year-old Cheryl Bones. Since 1976, Bones has been crew boss for Apache number 8, and that means travel, often for weeks at a time during long fire seasons.
We went out that we left our families behind. I had 3 kids that I left behind, 5, 2, and 1 years old when I started. That was pretty tough.
From the reservation, Apache 8 went to all the big fires.
California, Washington State, Idaho, Nevada, and Virginia.
We have another hot spot over here.
The summer of '96 in California, 21 days without a break, 90 hours a week on the line.
Long hours, hardly any sleep, long walking.
No days off.
No days off.
They have a reputation for killing the toughest of fire.
We take pride in our work.
Often the women work on hand and knee to locate hidden hotspots.
We don't want any more flare-ups where we've been. We're pretty thorough.
By reservation standards, where jobs are scarce, the pay is good. And it's a prestigious job, but it's not easy.
Last year, before I got on into dispatch, I went through 26 babysitters.
Now the fire has come to the reservation, and for Dean Caldera, it's no longer about just trying to make a living.
It wasn't the dollar signs anymore. It was, to help people that needed it.
The women of Apache 8, now fighting fire in their own backyard. Chip Reed, NBC News, Show O, Arizona. Next, Lifeline. The bottom line on a possible link between birth control pills and cancer. Also, the questions every patient should be asking their doctor.
I don't smell him. I'm the only cat left. That Misty always was a prima donna. Mr. Boots, always cuddling with the humans. What a sellout. What? It's all mine.
You'd never know there were 3 cats in here.
3?
This tidy cat really controls the odor.
Uh-oh. Formulated for multiple cats?
Something stinks.
And it's not the litter box.
Tidy cats. Multiple strength.
For multiple cats.
Take care of your future now with new Bayer Women's Aspirin Plus Calcium. Calcium for your bones, aspirin for your heart. Heart disease is the #1 killer of women. Be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen and ask about new Bayer Women's.
We work for the investor, trying to pit which pharmaceutical companies are going to be winners.
Wondering what the inventory trends look like.
I'm a licensed physician, and I understand the clinical trials process and how the FDA works. Towards prevention, or are you going more towards treatment?
It's an interesting time for the pharmaceutical sector right now. With the advances in science, I think that the prospects look very good. Prudential has a 3-tiered rating system, and being able to issue a buy, hold, or sell rating makes me feel uninhibited.
In this place, I see a lot of gas. I also see a lot of folks taking medicines that don't fight gas. But Gas-X has the most powerful medicine to relieve gas fast. Nothing I've seen works faster. Gas-X beats the bloat fast.
I like to shop every day. 8 a.m. sharp, Sal's Fruit Market. Oh, he's got the best tomatoes in town. When I started chemo, my doctor said that I might become anemic, maybe feel weak. I never expected to be too tired to make it south. The day that he had to deliver my order was one of the saddest days of my life. Thank you. I asked my doctor about Procrit.
Procrit is for chemotherapy-related anemia in patients with most kinds of cancer. If you're on chemotherapy and too tired to do the things you used to do, talk to your doctor about Procrit to regain red blood cells. And more red blood cells can mean more strength.
Welcome back, Mrs. Mancini.
Procrit is proven and safe. In studies, only diarrhea and edema occurred more often with Procrit than placebo. Call now and learn how Procrit can help you get back the strength you need. Your strength for living.
Buying fresh takes a little more energy, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
They're hot, they're dangerous, and their damage heartbreaking. New at 6, as men and women from all over the country bravely attack monstrous western wildfires, we'll show you how firefighters here in Oregon learn skills they need to battle the front line of a blaze. A unique look inside firefighting school. Tonight at 6 on News Channel 8.
Lifeline tonight, and important news for women who worry about possible cancer risk from taking birth control pills. A large new study finds the pill does not raise the risk of breast cancer. Does not. In fact, the study by government researchers says the risk does not increase even for women who started taking the pill early or whose close relatives have breast cancer. And in this era of a highly mobile society, with people often moving because of jobs or families, and with ever larger cities and suburbs, a lot of the old medical markers are gone as well, such as the local doctor everyone knows. Now, in this fast-track society, finding a doctor is more difficult, and making the wrong choice can be dangerous. NBC's Robert Bazell tonight on the risks and the choices.
When Kathy Broussard was pregnant with her first child, she used an obstetrician recommended by a friend.
I trusted that friend, and so I hadn't done any research on him.
But during the delivery, something went terribly wrong. The girl died a week later. Afterwards, the Broussards learned the doctor had already faced more than 5 times as many malpractices as the average obstetrician.
Well, I was devastated, guilt-ridden that I had put my daughter in a position like that with a physician that had had a history like that.
The Broussards sued the doctor, and the case was settled without an admission of wrongdoing.
But how can you learn about a doctor's record? Most state medical boards have websites or phone numbers with lists of the state's doctors. But often the information is incomplete.
Charles Inlander, who runs a medical consumers group, says in many places lawsuits can be found only in county courthouses, and even then often sealed from public view. Only Massachusetts posts the complete record for the past 10 years.
It would probably take you days to find information about just one doctor that would be the equivalent of what is in the Massachusetts information.
Jill Livengood hired a company, MedRock, to recommend a doctor for her father.
When your loved one or when somebody is sick, you really feel helpless, and so did my dad.
But the service costs up to $500.